Hey, welcome back. Thanks for doing the show, Chris.
Hey, no problem.
I got Chris Morton here from Intrigue Media, and maybe even a little bit of James Bond comes November 30th.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm gonna fit the role quite well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're doing I'm in a car with another awesome team member from Intrigue. So maybe you can just give the audience a little bit of an intro in terms of where you've come from and what you're up to these days.
Cool. I've come from obviously England due to my accent, but my background for 10 years was working in manufacturing. I was totally not a marketer or what now is a web developer as well. So I had a big decision to make when I was in manufacturing. I got laid off, and it wasn't for the first time either, so I was getting kind of tired of that experience. And so I looked for something different, and then so during my time being laid off, I started learning how to code and started trying to grow myself in that area, in a kind of working towards an industry that I thought I could have some future in.
Yeah, that's cool.
So so I did that, and then as time went on and word spread to some of my friends that I'd been learning about web development, that the friend of a friend put me onto Intrigue Media, and that was when I came to, I think it was the summer community party a couple of years ago.
Yeah, now. Okay, yeah.
When we were back at a house at Westmount, and I got to meet the team, and I just fell in love with the culture and everything about the company, really. So and then it was like a week later, I applied for the internship, and the rest is history. For the benefit of people watching the video, I got an internship at Intrigue. I went through the whole 4 months of my internship, and then I came on part-time, and then finally full-time in March earlier this year. And now I'm part of the Intrigue full-time web development team.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you, man. It's been great. So maybe you could give people just a little bit of a sense of what that culture experience has been. Like, what was it that made you fall in love, and like, how's it been since you started? Like, what's that whole piece on culture been for you?
Yeah, for sure. Basically because I've had a lot of experience with kind of bad workplace culture where working as a team wasn't encouraged. We weren't really given any freedom. A buzzer went when it was lunchtime. It was just such a totally different vibe to
the Flintstones.
What we have now is, and I mean, what I fell in love with at Intrigue was just how everybody's friendly and positive and trying really hard, but you're also holding each other accountable for the things that we have to do and when we have to get them done. And there was just something that I thought was just really beautiful coming into a company when my previous experience was working with a group of people where half of them were doing their jobs and didn't care about it, and then half of them were, but there was no real repercussions for anybody that didn't want to do their job. So there was a lot I really loved about Intrigue. Obviously, I was also previously I worked with the average guy I worked with was probably like a 60-year-old man. So to come into Intrigue and then work with some people that are my own age, like nice, young, attractive people, it was just that was just such a step into the light for me. After coming out of working in a factory with a bunch of old guys forever, that was
straight up
not a lot of fun.
No, that's cool. So then, in terms of the values at Intrigue, what's the one that's kind of made the most impact or had the biggest impression for you?
For me, it is just our main one, the empowering leaders, strengthening communities, because I just don't think I'd really ever made any great effort to really be involved in my community or in volunteer work, and I hadn't really taken enough time to think about the value of that and what that means. But then I came in at Intrigue, and then it was no time at all before I was volunteering for, like, I did football coaching all through the summer. And
soccer for people.
Yeah. I still refuse to say soccer.
Good on you. Didn't want anybody to get confused.
Yeah, I go as far as calling your guys' football, I call it hand egg.
Hand egg.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
accurate.
Yeah, that to me it is anyway. But so to me it's the community aspect, like really getting to know what it means to be part of a community. And for me, like being an immigrant and not having any real roots in our community in Guelph and even in Canada, all of a sudden, it just, when I started getting involved in the community, I was like, wow, this really means something to me. Like, this is really important. This really makes me feel good. So that was like the biggest thing for me, because it was just eye-opening that something like that is important to me. Yeah, I didn't even realize it before.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like you don't know what you don't know.
No, yeah, exactly. I used to have a boss who used to say that, and I'd laugh at him every time. Wow, man, that's profound.
That's profound.
You don't
but it kind of is,
know.
right? Sometimes. So then, maybe getting a bit role-centric for a second.
Sure, yeah.
Websites, pretty big part of like any organization's ability to go to market, attract and engage customers, members, votes, you name it.
Yeah.
So what kind of things have you been focused on of late with regard to building, better websites for clients and for us?
I think I've mostly been focusing on conversion rate, which is like directly linked to UX or user experience.
Right.
Just because when I first started, we were focusing very heavily on SEO, which is still something I regard as being very important for a person's website.
And SEO being
search engine optimization. Right. You need to be found on Google and other search engines when people are looking for you. So that is super important. But also now the bots, like the Google algorithm, is now learning the fact that if somebody, even if your SEO is perfect and you're top of Google, if somebody clicks on your page and lands there and they go, you don't have the information I'm looking for, and exits, the algorithm actually now recognizes that, and you will get downranked if your content or the user experience on your page isn't what people are looking for and they bounce.
Right.
Then that actually affects your SEO also.
Crazy.
So, and also just the fact that there's no point ranking in a search engine if when people get to your site, they're not going to convert. Because the idea of people finding you is that you want them to convert from one of your services that you're hopefully selling through your website, or at least you want them to contact you about the service through your website.
Totally.
So now I'm putting a much larger focus on both, we call it CRO, conversion rate optimization, and which kind of comes hand in hand with UX, which is user experience, and basically just trying to make sure I create websites that are very easy to navigate. Like if I want to push somebody through a funnel, that I want them to have a really, really easy job of going through that funnel. I don't want them to not know where to click or to get frustrated and quit halfway through it. We want to make that experience just easy.
So can you give somebody watching a tip or something that they should look for on their own website to see if it's happening, if it isn't happening, maybe something they should do?
Yeah, really simple ones would be the first thing I look at as far as user experience is that I try and find the contact page. So if your contact page if someone isn't able to find a link to be able to contact you from first glance at your website, then that's like immediately a red flag.
Sure.
It's not a good thing. So making sure that a contact button or link to a contact page is visible easily is very important. And then on that contact page, making sure that you have a clickable phone number for mobile users.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a really
clickable phone number.
Yeah, really big one for user experience, especially. It doesn't really matter for desktop, but considering most traffic is coming through mobile now, that if somebody's on your website and they're looking at your contact details, they want to be able to click that phone number and start calling you. They don't want to have to copy and paste it and put it into their phone book and
Straight
stuff,
up,
right?
man.
So that's a really important one. As far as other user experience, I just make sure that if, like, for example, if you have any sales pages on your websites, or if you have, say, a checkout process, I just make sure that you do some testing of that and make sure that that's a really smooth experience, that the people aren't getting error pages or aren't hitting steps that are really difficult to complete,
right.
Have weird mandatory fields that nobody knows how to fill out, stuff like that. So I would just go through any kind of ordering form or checkout steps and just make sure that everything is really easy to use, because we find that people exit quite easily from checkout stages. There's been a lot of data on that from Google, and even as far as like page load time, there's this bit of information where if a page loads in under 3 seconds or takes more than 3 seconds to load when you're in the checkout process of a website, then it's like 80% of people will bounce in that situation.
Wow.
And that's terrible when you think to the fact that you've already worked people through your funnel on your website to get to the checkout process. Like, you've got them. They're in. Yeah. They're already convinced. But all it takes is a bad user experience on your website during that checkout process, or a slow page load time. So if you haven't optimized your images or haven't optimized your page for speeds, then people are going to leave, even though you've got exactly what they want and they've already committed to buy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
how fickle our attention is as
exactly.
internet browsers.
Yeah, it's how the internet and our cell phones have created a even worse version of the fast food culture that we already had, right. where we need everything instantly right now, and if you don't have it, too bad, somebody else does. I'm gone.
And what's interesting in what I just heard is, like, it's making sure what's there is easy.
Yeah.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel and doing something crazy and like having some cool 3D animated video on your website. No, it's just about getting the things that you have in place tightened up, making sure that it's easy to use for the person visiting.
100%.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate doing this, because I think sometimes people overlook the little things, but the devil's always in the details. Yeah. And the best answers are usually the simplest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you keep it simple and make your website easy to use, you will definitely see more conversions. So I think that's really important. And we even heard about that when we were at the Call to Action conference in Vancouver earlier this year. We heard that there was 2 comparisons done I think there was several comparisons done of different blogs that were written in different styles. So one would be written at kind of a lower grade sort of reading level, like something that a child could easily understand. And then other blogs written at kind of a university English lit sort of level.
Right.
And people bounce and don't interact with the stuff that's cleverly written, the stuff that's written like you're an English major. But when it's written like a children's book, as long as you're still targeting your audience correctly, then
people convert.
Yeah, people are into it. People respond. People engage.
That's cool. So, and what would be the one thing you'd say to somebody who is thinking about maybe joining the team at Intrigue? What kind of person would be a good fit for the company from your perspective?
Growth mindset is like number one, I think. It's just somebody, like when I came to Intrigue, I didn't necessarily have the skills to be a web developer, but I made it very clear that I had the mindset and the capability to be anything I wanted. You just had to kind of give me a little direction and a little help, and I'll do the rest myself. So I think that attitude was mostly what made me a good fit for working at Intrigue.
And I totally agree. So growth mindset, if anybody's thinking about joining the team, I think you're spot on.
That would be the number one. And then obviously someone that's likes to be involved in the community, likes to work with awesome people and awesome clients, then
Sweet, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
It was a pleasure. Yeah. All right, see you guys. Bye.